Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from Josh Sculptor about the top 10 silent protagonists. Let's hop in and see how these people didn't talk their way into anything.
What makes a good protagonist? Someone you can follow and cheer on as they accomplish their journey. Video games give us the opportunity to play as these characters, allowing us to share the experience. That's where silent protagonists come in. Just because they don't speak a word doesn't mean they can't have an impact in whatever world they're in, and in more ways than just player action.
Conkle.
Now, silent does...
Sorry, wrong rodent. And I meant crash.
Doesn't mean they aren't talking at all. It means they don't converse too often and tend to have others talk for them or interpret their gestures. We'll be looking at how much personality they express despite not talking much. How much do their actions define their character? Is the story better because they don't talk? There will be fewer points for creative characters because those are made to be player inserts to begin with, as well as characters who have full vocal lines outside of dialogue options. Jack would have made the list if he didn't vow to kill Praxis.
Oh yeah. He would have made it, then he said, I'ma kill that man. And yeah, no, now he's not on the list. Still great music. You know what? I bet that there's gonna be an entry that's just any Pokemon game. Because, you know, you're always silent.
Pokemon is arguably the first franchise you think of when it comes to silent protagonists. Playing as a 10-year-old, leaving home to go on an adventure with your partners at your side to become the very best that ever was. You go on to get 8 badges, defeat an evil team bent on doing who knows what, and become the champion of the region.
That's
pretty strong stuff. It does feel a bit samey after a while, though. Where's the pizzazz, the intrigue, the ability to steal the trainer's Pokemon? Wait, what was that last one?
That's Colosseum.
Now we're talking. Meet Wes, the main character of Pokemon Colosseum, which needs a remaster, Nintendo. He was a former member of Team Snag'em, a group of Pokemon thieves where he defected, stole their portable snag machine, and blew up their base to alert the police to it. Exactly why he did this was unknown, but after meeting the girl Rui, the two worked together to find Shadow Pokemon and free them from corruption. The two go all around the Ore region, fighting against Team Snag'em and Cypher, capturing Shadow Pokemon from trainers and freeing their hearts. Like most Pokemon Protags, Wes doesn't talk, but he has Rui to speak and react for him. Thanks to this, we can see his actions play out in real time, though I will admit it is pretty basic. It wasn't until recently that Pokemon Protags were a bit more expressive. Usually they just stand there and smile while things go on around them. Though a lot of them do have personalities in spin-off games like Pokemon Masters, they also aren't silent there either. Wes is...
Yeah, you technically can't even count that.
Admittedly a victim of that, but what he does is so interesting and different from other Pokemon Protags, it allows him to stand out. But man, with Pokemon starting, you know we got some really quiet superstars up ahead.
Oh, completely. I knew there was going to be Pokemon on the list, but I didn't know it was going to be that fast on the number 9.
In addition to Nintendo, you are going to see a few RPG characters here as well. Sometimes both. Not because a couple of my crew are huge JRPG fans, if that wasn't apparent, but also because RPGs do a really good job of giving us characters who hit that balance I mentioned earlier. So let's take a look at Chrono Trigger. For its short runtime, you'll learn quite a bit about the protagonist.
Oh, that wasn't my mouse on screen. And hey, I'm actually playing Chrono Trigger on my channel.
A heavy sleeper from his mom having to wake him up when fireworks don't. We know he cares deeply about his friends when he travels back in time using his science friend's sketchy time machine to save a girl he just met. And we learn just to what lengths he will go to save his friends and the world. Seriously, how many lazy teenagers do you see stepping up to help save the world at a moment's notice? Oh, the world and time itself. Okay, besides them. Another fun thing is that some of Chrono's actions are choice-driven, but it doesn't take away from his overall character. At the beginning of the game, your actions at the fair affect a trial later on, but it detracts from Chrono being a bit of an impulsive teen. And of course, we have Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, here's also the thing about a trial. It's 1000% rigged. You can never win it.
There's multiple endings, which I guess do boil down to when you want to fight Lavos. But I think the choice of when do we want to risk our lives against a world-eating, time-manipulating
You
alien
can give
parasite
that much help?
really adds personality to people. Chrono's most impactful moment is when he sacrifices himself to save his friends from Lavos. Not only is this an impactful scene where the protagonist effing dies, but you see the reactions of his
Damn.
friends to his passing. It shows the influence he has on people despite his lack
Look,
of
the
words.
epic.
To the point where your party members will team up with a former enemy and scale a brutal mountain just to save him. Chrono can be considered one of the original expressive silent protags, and a great example of how one of these characters impacts the world they're in. I wouldn't call him the original silent protag, though. Got a couple of others who might
That
fit
would have to be
bill.
Link. He's been silent since the first. Okay, I guess technically not silent. He does make noise, but he doesn't talk.
Yep, it goes without saying that Mario is the precursor to the great silent protags of today. The cheerful and courageous Red Plumber is as malleable as he is
Maybe.
versatile. Silent hero or not, he has seen many different takes all across media. Some are well and good, some debatable. In the case of the former, I'd argue there are two game series that did him the most justice. Legend of the Seven Stars and the Mario and Luigi series. In Mario
yes.
RPG,
You know
our
what?
hero is the
Yes.
center of the game's most recurring joke: reenactments. Mario has a hilarious way of demonstrating exposition, from restricted yet over-the-top motions to transforming into different characters just like that. Yeah, we all had that phase where we main spy a certain way. And on top of that, there's just something cathartic about how violent we can
Look
be
at that.
sometimes. Tried to throw hands with a 7-year-old for crying out loud. The amount
Ooh.
of slapstick and pride makes him one of the most enjoyable characters in the game. It says a lot when the protagonist people usually don't pay attention to turns out to be more expressive and dynamic than the fan favorite ally whose dialogue is 90% exposition. You know, a lot of people just follow the notion of Mario being this abusive brother who doesn't care about Luigi at all. Well, those people clearly haven't had a lick of the Mario and Luigi games. Or if they do, and they just
1000%.
conveniently let it slip by. Mario's chemistry with Luigi here is simple, but very effective. Even if all they say is, a talking tomato, and a tomato throws a red barrel. We see just how much the two look out for each other. From the gestures in each bros attack to saving each other when it counts. Plus, Mario's the one who came up with the idea to disguise Luigi as Peach in Superstar Saga. And he even sticks up for his bro against that mean old Stargate. Yeah, where was that in your masterpiece?
Yeah, he'd punch a gate.
Piece of a theory, Matt Pat.
He loves his
if
brother.
Dream Team reveals that Luigi has nothing but positive thoughts about Mario, it further shows how genuine their chemistry is and how much Mario's friendly stalwartness really means to his bro. And to rub salt in the open wound, Brothership highlights just how much losing Luigi hurts Mario.
Oh,
the guy started hallucinating his little bro.
Quit telling everyone I'm dead!
Sometimes I can still hear his voice.
Mario isn't as story heavy as every other protagonist on this list, but that doesn't devalue how charming and entertaining he can be if given the effort to really express himself. Not everyone who makes Mario games shares that level of love and passion for the character, but for those who do, bless their hearts.
Well, we move on from, I guess, the first of the silent to number 7. It's
By now, who doesn't know about the armored vixen of the Metroid series? Samus Aran, bounty hunter, galaxy protector, and one of the pioneers of video game heroines. Throughout the game, Samus rarely, if ever, speaks a single word. For the most part, the only real dialogue we get from Samus is her various grunts and death sounds in game. Part of this is because she's out in the field with no one to talk to. Even when Adam phones in with the usual "any objections, lady," she doesn't respond back because she doesn't need words. Until she does.
Action.
Usually the most we see her quote-unquote talking is when she's delivering internal monologues. The first time we see her actually speak is near the end of Metroid Fusion, where she's arguing with the computer. The first time we hear her voice outside of Smash is Other M, but I really don't want to count Other M. The only thing weaker than her characterization is her line delivery in the cutscenes.
Especially since like 70% of those lines is just the word baby.
Thumbs up sign had been used by the Galactic Federation for ages.
Riveting!
And then came Metroid Dread, the true return to form of the franchise. Throughout the entire game, she has count them, 2 lines of dialogue in total. And the moment we hear them both, we are instantly floored. First, when she's talking to Quiet Robe, aka Exposition Burb. He gives her the breakdown on Ravenbeak, and her only response?
Don't worry, I'll end this once and for all.
It's short, it's badass, and it's spoken in Chozo. the language of the ones who took her in when she had no one. It's the only full sentence she speaks in the entire game, and she embraced her heritage. And
I
the
like
other piece
that.
of dialogue?
Whoa!
The most savage
Maybe I
and
should watch that
emotionally
game.
satisfying scene in the whole franchise. Other than those two gripping moments, Samus remains as mute as ever. Almost to really soak in the dread as the game's tone tries to convey. The brief moments we hear Samus speak really showcase what kind of hero she is. The monologues get a slight pass since they're internal, and let's face it, we need a little exposition so we can grasp what the heck is going on.
That
When she
is true,
opens her mouth
yeah.
in-game, she sticks strictly to business, keeping it simple and to the point if she can help it. She's actually a pretty introspective woman, able to be expressive without uttering a word and letting her actions and the world around her do the talking. Some might
Like
debate if
most
she really
silents.
qualifies as a silent protagonist, but I say her actions over words more than justifies her spot on the list. Any objections,
yeah.
ladies? Ugh, other M ruined that line too for me, dang it!
Ah, well, damn. Well, we moved from Space of 7 to number 6. It's...
Oh look, another RPG protag, and from a game that we just talked about on my last countdown. Am I that repetitive? Anyway, hey look, we're talking about Sunny / Amori. When you first
Oh,
pick up the game,
nice.
you play as the titular
It's this
gothic
game.
anime teenager as we roam throughout white space. We meet up with our friends, and our best friend Basil shows us his photo album. But then he sees a particular picture that deeply unsettles him. Afterward,
then
we must
shit
use
gets
the
real.
knife in our pockets to snap us out of white space where Sunny is properly introduced to us. Those of you who have played the game will know that Omori is actually an alternate personality conjured up by Sunny as a result of him disassociating himself from the reality of his older sister Mari's death. At this point, I can already hear the comments saying, "But Josh, Sunny is expressionless all throughout the game. How could he place this high?" To which I say, yes, he is expressionless. And that's the point.
Yeah,
Sunny
that's a silent
endures
protagonist. Come on.
depression, numbness, lifelessness, and emptiness, all as a result of his inner turmoil. He has completely disconnected himself from the world around him, blaming himself for his sister's death and just sinking deep into unforgiveness towards himself.
He no longer wishes
Read
to
the
exist.
dialogue that his blank space counterpart says to us in the final boss fight. Sunny is suffering in silence, refusing to make the truth known to his friends, despite the fact that his best friend Basil was there to witness everything. The only bit of dialogue we ever get from Sunny, if you make the right choices, is in the good ending, where he walks into Basil's hospital room and says to his friends,
Ooh.
"I have something to tell you." This is all
And that's
Sunny
the only
ever
line?
says in the entirety of the game,
Nice.
showing that he's been staying silent about how much his guilt has been hurting him for years. Also, look at the text that Omori has in white space. Mock, sad poem, painful truth, shun, guard.
What
All of
the-
these relate to negative emotions and serve as a representation of Omori's real-world counterpart's own inner suffering. He also has a text that
yeah,
uses knife,
seems.
and I think you can connect the dots. With Omori being a psychological horror, it only makes sense that the most expression we get from Sunny is in his own mind. His outward expression
would
is
make
only
sense.
a deadpan stare, but what he's inferring is a cry for help, an end to the torment, a desire
Ooh,
to undo
damn.
his fatal mistake. But he never can. The best case scenario for him
It
is
is
to
a
forgive
shame.
himself and tell his friends the truth. Several fan-made animations have been made of this where Sunny
Forgive and
is at his
speak.
most vocal and most emotional, dreading the reaction of his peers. Each animation has varying reactions to this news, but I think it's best left up to the interpretation of the player, just like Sunny's thoughts
Clearly.
as a silent protagonist. Though I have to wonder, after playing through everything Sunny concocted in White Space, you think he grows up to be a game developer?
That could actually be pretty good. On to
With
number
graphics
5.
getting more realistic, it's getting harder to make the old guard of silent protagonists. Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii even joked that if you make characters who are silent and just stand there, they look like an idiot. Someone play Gen 6 and 7. It makes me wonder how a company would evolve a JRPG silent protagonist over 40 years. Well, we do get that with good old Ys and its protag, Adol Christin. Many may not have heard the name of
okay.
Adol Christin, but this redheaded adventurer and his wanderlust have been captivating gamers for almost 40 years.
You're kidding me.
Nope.
In that time, we've had 10 or so games chronicling his journey.
Yeah,
based
I don't
on
know these
in-universe
games.
books he wrote on the many adventures he had. Since the games are technically Adolf's
Sorry.
books, we experience each game through his eyes, being the player's avatar in those adventures. Even with this, we still learn a lot about Adolf through NPC dialogue and flashbacks.
Yeah, I'll just be honest. This is my first time hearing about this game series at all. I don't know anything.
He was originally from a mountain village where he learned the sword from his father and learned of the outside world from traveling merchants.
Oh,
His
that's not bad.
curiosity from these stories
Very
was
classic.
so great that he left his home at 16 to travel the world, eventually shipwrecking on the island of Hysteria because he wanted to see what would happen if he went into the giant storm wall surrounding it. This leads to a whole franchise of shipwrecks, being at the right place at the wrong time, having every heroine fall in love with you, losing all your equipment between games, and not going in a year without fighting some sort of godlike being. As for personality,
Dude,
Adol wears this
Is he just constantly fighting gods?
heart on his sleeve. He will help anyone at a moment's notice and will light up whenever a local legend or ancient ruin is brought up. And the sadness that comes from not being able to explore because he needs to save the world. Up through E7, he interacts with the world through his actions and reactions from friends. In Memories of Salsetta, he gains minor dialogue options, showcasing some of the personality I mentioned earlier. This continued into E's 8, 9, and 10, where he also became much more expressive to match the current technology. However, this
That is
also
useful.
added some voice acting where he will say some lines during battle or during important moment in E's 10. Outside of Nintendo characters,
I wouldn't
Adol
really
is one
count
of the
that, though.
oldest silent protagonists and
I meant the dialogue done in combat, because, you know.
probably the
Flavor.
oldest recurring one in JRPGs. Seeing his growth and development throughout these games and the impact he's made, not only in this world, but in the genre itself, it's just insane. Makes me curious how his adventures continue before they end at the North Pole. Fun fact, his English VA is Bryce Pappenbrook. Getting someone who's known for playing a sword-wielding
Who?
harem protagonist to play one of the OGs of the genre is crazy.
Oh. Huh, from Sword Art Online. Alright. Well, from the sword, we move to number 4. It's... Kirby, of
Come
course.
on, we didn't spend 3 minutes on Kirby characters
The
gushing about how
puffball.
incredible the pink puffball is and not put him this high on the list. He stands with Mario as one of the big two of Nintendo's all-star
I mean,
cast
you
of
literally
heroes.
can't
And
talk.
boy, did he go through a lot to defend that spot.
He only says like 2 things. Hi and Poyo.
There's something so infinitely charming about this tiny, non-speaking creature just smiling away while steamrolling everything in his path. But he's no psychopath, mind you.
Nice.
He's Dreamland's hero for a reason. Going from thwarting a greedy king and saving
He'll
everyone's
save the
meals
world.
to having WWE throwdowns with Gygas' classmates. And on top of that, he shows genuine moments of kindness too. He's a good father figure, a supportive and trusting friend, and
That's
he even
right.
shows mercy to those who deserve it. It says a lot that Kirby is so pure-hearted that even Dark Mind couldn't corrupt him. Nope. Even
That's
Shadow
also
Kirby
true.
is so nice, he gives you items and abilities throughout all of Amazing
Oh, you actually
Hero.
killed him.
Why do I fix everything I touch?
When you get down to it, Kirby is kind of Nintendo's Superman. His personality is more
Pretty
childlike,
much.
but he still upholds a lot of the same noble values while muscling all that planet-busting energy. On top of that
I mean,
hilarious
yeah.
dichotomy, he's a character worth all the love and respect he's garnered in his lifetime. And he did all of this with his only speaking words being hi and Poyo. Kirby remained
I
one
said
of
that.
Nintendo's most consistent and welcoming protagonists. Really, all we can ask from him is to keep shining a light on our dim lives by being the explosive, inspirational puffball that he's always been.
To be the embodiment of joy and kindness that we all know. On to the bronze medal of silence. It's... Oh, the knight. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, he doesn't talk, he really can't say anything. He
In
pressed off the
Wilds
laugh,
Beyond-
literally made a whole video of a couple videos of you talking as the knight.
And they speak your name with reverence and regret, for none could tame our savage souls. Yet you the challenge met under Palest watch. You taught, we changed, base instincts were redeemed, a world you gave to bug and beast, as they had never dreamed.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, Hollow Knight, a perfect blend
Good
of
poem.
loneliness, darkness, beauty, and
Oh, clap.
unadulterated masochism wrapped in ribbon and tied with a bow. With bugs! A prince
So
above
many
all the
bugs!
The being known as the titular Hollow Knight, or Pure Vessel, was a child of the Pale King that succeeded
Well, Pure Vessel is what it would be without the crack.
in containing the Radiance due to its mindless, susceptible, voiceless, and, well, hollow nature. Succeeded, that is, after hundreds of thousands of failed attempts and murdered bug children. You play as this lovable little critter simply known as the Knight, who is also quite
That's right.
voiceless and void.
It's just a baby.
Through a series of memories, battles, and exchanges with your badass sister Hornet, it's revealed that the
they are
Knight is
siblings.
another child of
Okay.
the Void and the Pale King. Many silent protagonists retain their speechlessness because they're meant to be a self-insert, or overall more simplified character in order to relate and appeal to the masses. The Knight is not meant to be
True.
like you, the player. As a matter of fact, he's only meant to relate to the other husks, except, living to tell the tale. Except he
That
can't
is
tell it
also
because
true.
he's silent. Point blank. This character is designed to be silent. The story revolves around his silence and reveres those in Hallownest silent enough to make room in their darkness-ridden body for discount Volcarona. If the Knight spoke, it would become a
More like Mega Volcarona.
failed husk. If it so much as
Oh, that's how I
uttered
see
a
it.
word, it would not be able to contain the radiance after it bled from the Hollow Knight. One single solitary word, and it would become an infected menace and probably explode on impact. Right,
Oh,
the Hollow Knight guy. He was the
jeez.
ideal being to contain the infection until you, the Knight, came around. Assuming you play to a particular ending, now it is you who contains the parasitic light. You have surpassed the pure
That's
vestal
right.
as the ideal, voiceless, mindless husk so empty that it will restrain the enemy. So empty, so hollow.
Bum
Don't you love a
bum.
title that shifts meaning as you go through a game? Honestly, the Knight,
I
now
like
deemed
that.
quite hollow, is the perfect silent protagonist from a functional story and world-building perspective. Why is it scratching the top 3 and not triumphing the entire list? Due to the Knight's stagnant emptiness that warrants it as the perfect vessel, there's not a whole lot to the character. Go on, tell me about the Knight besides the fact that he's the protag, is a Prince of Hallownest, and eventually contains the infection.
Yeah, I don't think there is anything else
Yeah.
to say.
Now, adding much
That's
more
it.
to the Knight's lore would annihilate
fills
what
the
makes
role.
it such a strong silent hero and probably wreck the plot of the game. But the top 2 just have a little more substance, and in a way that fits their own stories just as well. Maybe they'll explode from being too interesting too.
And now on to the silver medal of silence, and it goes to.
Being silent has its perks. Oftentimes when a silent protagonist doesn't talk, it really lets their actions speak all the louder. And when your actions are loud enough, they can become almost symbolic, legendary, and you become an icon
Yes,
of
Link.
courage. Of course,
Finally.
Link's here. The hero of
knew
legend,
he'd
bearer
be
of the
here.
Triforce of Courage, and local dork in about half of his games. But the interesting thing about Link is, reincarnation aside, they're all technically different people. Every Link has his quirks, his own unique background and hobbies.
That's
and
true.
some of them have hiccups about dedicating themselves to the whole hero thing.
And different
But
family.
which Link suits our purposes here? Which is the Link that most embodies the silent hero archetype? Well, let's journey on over to the distant future in whatever timeline Breath of the Wild takes place in, and look at the hero
I still say Breath of the Wild is meant to be the final conjunction to what all the timelines reunite into one.
of the wild.
I
By
still
the time
sign
we've
off on
met
that.
this Link, he's already well established as Zelda's personal knight, and the flashbacks we get show him laying down his life for her time and time again. But once Hyrule falls into chaos, he's gravely injured and put into stasis for the next 100 years. Now Link's a fish out of water with a case of amnesia, but no less committed to his duty.
I
Through
remember
the memories you
nothing.
can find, you're shown Link's personality and demeanor, and even without words, you get a sense
Oh,
of what he's all
frog.
about. His determination to protect those he cares about is what stands out the most in these. During Hyrule's fall, even when he's facing down the apocalypse, barely clinging to life, he's still trying to protect Zelda with his dying breath. Zelda
That's
even
right.
gives us an answer as to why he's so silent all the time. It's his sense of duty. Link bottles everything up because he feels
Didn't he actually quite literally take a vow of silence and just refuses to speak in general because of that?
he has to.
Well, I mean, like a mix of things. Like he took the vow and he's not meant to speak a word.
Because he's so laser focused on protecting Hyrule, he has to put his personal feelings aside.
That.
Jeez, this poor boy needs a break. The hero of the wild is the culmination of everything Link has symbolized over the years. He takes cues from a lot of his predecessors, mixing them into a character that feels so much more like a complete person than any of the heroes of the past. He's taken on their legacy, and by Hylia, does he carry it on with all his courage.
Oh, yeah. And now the honorable mentions who almost made it, but didn't.
Isaac Clarke, Dead Space 1. He's silent because it helps
good,
cope
for the
with...
remake.
Chris, Deltarune. Toby Fox asks the real questions,
okay.
like, what if the silent protagonist didn't like you controlling them? Cube, Live Alive. He just wants to help. Astronaut.
Alright.
I really hope we see more of this goofy little guy. Ori, or in
That
the Blind
game's getting
Forest.
love.
Aw, he's so silently marketable.
And now, the Golden Medal of Silence goes to... Is it going to be Shell?
Of all the forces in the universe, there is one that renders even the unholiest
The
of beasts
Doom
weak in
Slayer.
ways. A mortal that storms the gates of hell itself, gunning down any entity foolish enough to stand
And he
in his
never
way.
said a
He
word.
speaks not a word, but once you see him coming, you know. He's not trapped with us.
You're
You're
trapped with him.
with him.
Oh, yes! The Doom Slayer! Hell yeah, now that's awesome.
The motherfucking Doom Guy. The nameless space marine dedicated to stomping out demon butt and chewing bubblegum. And he don't need no stinking bubblegum. Given that we're mostly
Get out of here,
playing from
Duke
his
Nukem.
POV, we don't get to see what's behind those testosterone-ridden eyes. And yet, you get most of his personality from just his arms. There is not a single atom of chill to be found in his body. He is laser focused on the inevitable bloodshed and the way he takes down everything in his path like it's a symphony.
Everything
If my little opening
goes.
monologue didn't make it clear, all the demons are scared shitless of him as he stone cold mows through them without a word.
Oh, yeah.
And yet, he has a small quirky side too. He has a freaking adorable interaction with the toys he finds on the way.
Aw.
And if he falls to his death, he just gives a bad thumbs up because even in death, he remains pure awesome.
Of
now, all that makes
course,
him
it's
cool in his
him.
own right, but what makes him the best silent protagonist? As revealed in a flashback during Doom Eternal, there was a time when he could speak perfectly fine. But this was before he became the unstoppable juggernaut we know today.
So he
Once
could
he armored
talk.
up, he took a vow of silence so he could properly focus on the task at hand. And he's kept that silence going ever since. Except for one singular moment. When he confronts the Dark Lord of the Infernal Realm, basically the overarching baddie of the whole franchise, the evil one asks if he has any last words before he kills him. And with his helmet removed, all the Doom Guy can say is...
Say it. Oh.
One single solitary word.
Oh,
and he
yeah.
saved it for the big bad before putting him down for good. He
no.
deliberately keeps his mouth shut to paint himself as the ultimate symbol of fear, and it works. No mercy, no distractions.
That
just
is
an
epic.
endless barrage of anger with a few fun, quirky moments. It says so much about him while he says so little, and that alone earns him the crown for silent protagonists.
Oh yeah.
I'm Josh Scorcher.
No gold
Since we
medal,
managed to fix the
gold
sound after the
crown.
previous countdown, let's see what else there is to fix, shall we?
Alright everyone, well that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Links to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.